Hi Team Value, JJ here. Welcome back. Well, today we're going to have a look at one of super investor Mohnish Pabrai's most unconventional investing and business ideas. It's cloning. He talked about this in his book, and he's talking about it here in Omaha at the Berkshire Hathaway meeting, one of the events that were around that this year. So let's see what he's got to say about that this time. Let's get into it.
You mentioned to copy like Charlie Munger's investment strategy, and you also mentioned in your book like cloning successful investors. So could you walk us through a specific instance where you've applied this strategy and the lessons learned from it?
From cloning?
Yes.
Well, Jim Sinegal, who was the founder CEO of Costco for a long time, he used to work at Price Club before Costco. And he worked under Sol Price. So he was asked one time, what have you learned from Sol Price? And he said, it's the wrong question. He said, there's nothing I know that didn't come from Sol Price. And of course, what happened is in the case of Costco, later Costco bought Price Club and actually became far more successful than Price Club. So the student became better than the teacher. I actually think
so that's an example from business. She asked about whether, something that's from his own investing. He replied with something from business, which was a good example. Costco, by the way, if you don't know, is one of Charlie Munger's favorite stocks. He used to rave about Costco, and Warren Buffett jokingly complained about Charlie Munger talking about Costco too much. And of course, right now, as I speak, Costco's run up. The multiple's pretty high. It's done very, very well over time. And as Mohnish Pabrai says, an example of cloning that's been doing very well, done well in business.
I think that cloning is extremely powerful. Nothing I can think of that I know or, came up with myself. I mean, everything is cloned, So basically, that's the great thing about this world is you can just pick up things that are already known and someone has already done it, and people.
So not just one thing of cloning, he says everything about his investing is cloning, of course, from Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger. And Warren Buffett said many things. He's taught over the years pretty much everything about his investing. It's not a secret. He's put it out in lectures, in the Berkshire Hathaway meeting, in published writings from books. So it's not a secret. So he's copied things from Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett, as many of us do. Investing doesn't change that much, really. People like to think that it does, but it really doesn't over time. So cloning these ideas, and also specific ideas, when we look at, as I do on this podcast, over time, the 13F filings of super investors that come out, as Charlie Munger said, fish where the fish are. So some of the greatest investors in the world, if we look at what they're investing in, it can narrow down the field. We don't just copy. Cloning is not just copying, but it's looking at what's working and going from there. So it works in business, it works in investing, and perhaps in many other parts of life as well.
People will say that, Starbucks is a great business model, but somebody already did it. Or McDonald's is great, but somebody already did it. And actually, there's room for 3 or 4 or 5. So if you know that Starbucks is a great model, you can clone it and it would work. And just to give you an example.
Part of the problem with that is, of course, is that if that happened, if a lot of companies clone Starbucks, and this is what does happen in capitalism all the time, is that the field becomes too populated with the same companies. And, in terms of competition, you want to look for companies that pretty much monopoly. If Google's a monopoly in search, a lot of those big companies they have a huge market share. And so if other companies come in and copy it, and it's intense, and the auto industry is known for this, where there's so much competition there that nobody really makes any profits. Warren Buffett's talked about that before. So that's the downside to cloning. If capitalism works that way, if there's profits to be made, then a lot of companies start up or go in and try and grab some of those profits, and a great company will be able to fend that off and have a moat, as Warren Buffett said, or a sustainable competitive advantage. So that's what investors look for. So cloning, that is a bad side in terms of a company that wants to dominate, for sure.
Well, in my book, The Dhando Investor, which I was writing in 2006 and 2007, I wrote about what an amazing business Chipotle was. I loved Chipotle. At that time, I was eating Chipotle for lunch every day. And I just...
Mind you, so this is the book, by the way. This is his book that he wrote back then. And I'll put a link to this in the description with a referral link if you want to get that. I highly recommend it. I've read this a couple of times. I might read it again soon, actually. It's been a while. So he wrote this in 2007. So if we look at Chipotle from 2007, we can see that it's had 5,208% since then. So it's had a very, very good run. And he's talking about there, if he's writing the book, it's probably 2006 or so. So around then. And so he didn't invest in it. He's about to say that. And so he really has had a good run since then. But let's let him carry on here. Don't want to interrupt too much.
Just marveled at the business. And Ackman is the one who made all the money on Chipotle. Not Mohnish. It's Bill Ackman, you know.
Yeah, I'm going to have to interrupt there because we'll look at that. This is Bill Ackman's portfolio here. And as you can see, just quickly, Chipotle Mexican Grill, and I've made videos about Bill Ackman, his investing, how he invests. I'll put a link in the description to that because it's really interesting. He had a really long interview with Lex Friedman talking about exactly the way he invests, which is very similar to Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett and also Mohnish Pabrai. But Mexican Chipotle, he's had a very good run. It's one of those biggest, Bill Ackman's biggest positions, 13.49% of the portfolio, $2 billion, and it's run up. And just in this last quarter, I made a video about this too, where they've trimmed back a little bit. Because if you do look at the multiples on Chipotle at the moment, as I'm recording this, they're pretty high. It's run up a lot. So Bill Ackman's done very well out of it. He's trimmed back a little bit. It's going to be interesting in the next earnings, the next quarter, to see if he trims back a little more. And, you know, as you can see, not many positions. This is all of them. Universal Music Group is the top one, which you won't see in the US holdings because it's not in the US. This is from Ticker Terminal. I'll leave a description, a referral link in the description if you want to see that. It's a great thing about Ticker Terminal is it shows international portfolios of these super investors, including Bill Ackman here, but very few positions, and Chipotle, massive position, and they've done very well out of that. Pershing Squares, Bill Ackman's fund, and they've done very well out of it. Okay, let's get back to Mohnish.
You know, and so I love the business. I never invested in the business. And it's been one of the most spectacular home runs. And I actually saw Chipotle when it was embryonic. It was really, really small at that time. There were very few stores. And the amazing thing about cloning is, and I thought about it then in 2006 and even today, no one has cloned Chipotle. This is the most surprising thing for me is that Chipotle has no clones. So I remember there was another...
Is that true? I'm not in the US, so I don't know that. Let me know if anybody's in the US there where they can think of something that's quite similar to Chipotle. Is it true that they haven't been cloned? You'd have to think that some people must be trying a little bit to try and replicate that model because it's done so well. Maybe in a different kind of food, but that, I don't know. Just let me know what you think about that.
The Mexican fast food taco place, Baja Fresh, which Wendy's used to own then. And I went to Baja Fresh, and of course the experience was terrible compared to Chipotle. I never went back again. I thought to myself, why don't these guys just go and do what Chipotle does? You know, just reconfigure your line where you're producing the tacos and burritos to be exactly that, make it the same ingredients, hire those chefs, make the taste the same. Nobody's done it. So if you look at the world over and over and over again, you will find great things around with no clones. And those are all wide open opportunities. So long live cloning.
The power of cloning. I mean, you do see that in business and a lot of ideas that are similar. Microsoft, he's talked about this before. Microsoft is one that's known for cloning. There are a lot of the great businesses that actually have cloned other businesses or taken ideas. Meta, if you think of Meta, it's either bought into businesses or tried to, if it couldn't buy them, it's tried to copy them. And you know, like some of the features that are in Meta stories and so forth, it's taken ideas from elsewhere. And in China, Western countries looked at China, some of the apps that are going on there, I see live streaming, people selling through live streaming. That's definitely coming to the US, I would say, in the next few years, because it's been so popular. It is being so popular in China. So these ideas, nothing, as they say, nothing's original. So there's a lot of cloning going on. But Mohnish Pabrai is one of the people, he's the one that's willing to talk about it so much. Others aren't really. People are sort of ashamed of copying ideas or cloning ideas and running with them. I've started this new channel, by the way, if you want to go and check this out, Stocks Today with JJ. It's looking at the daily stock news, which I'm quite critical on this channel usually of, predictions that are being made by financial news. Some of it's kind of ridiculous, and it's a bit of fun for me, but it seems to be going well so far, the channel. I do doing a couple of videos a day. If you want to go over there, Stocks Today with JJ, I'll leave a link in the description to that. And also Patreon, if you want to join us over at Patreon here, 2 things that you get. You can join as a free member if you want to and see how that goes. You get the public videos like this one over there without some of the ads that you might get here, and also the weekly investing updates. I do one weekly investing update where I share things that I don't share anywhere else, and also started the stock analysis secret sauce course. I've done 3. I'm doing 1 a week, so I'll build those up. Lessons going right back to the beginning of stock analysis if you're interested in that, and focus from a value investing point of view. So check that out if you want to. And this is an example of one of them. This last one I've just done, the foundations of value investing, going right back to the beginning, and what is value investing and what's the basis of value investing. If you're interested in that, I'll put a link in the description to that if you want to go and check that out. And on screen, if you're watching this on YouTube, I'm going to put a link to what YouTube thinks that you should watch next. So go and see that now if you want to. It might be one of mine, it might not be, and that's fine. I'll put a link also to a subscription link if you want to subscribe to this channel, and just to get notifications as well to see what's coming up. There'll be a lot more of this. So thanks to everybody for watching or listening, and I'll see you in the next one.